Over 85 years ago, as World War II began, a force of sheer evil rose up with the goal of dominating the planet through genocide and destruction. After Hitler's rise to power, the Nazis sought to subjugate humanity under their iron fist while annihilating the Jewish people, but not only us, all those who they deemed subhuman. But in the face of this genocidal plot, the forces of good came together in order to end this horror, to return freedom and peace to the world. And following the Allies' victory, this institution here, the United Nations, was founded with the mission of ensuring such tyranny never raises its ugly head again, never. Today, you are about to do the exact opposite and advance the establishment of a Palestinian terror state, which will be led by the Hitler of our times. The Hitler of our times. In the 1940s, the world united to destroy a murderous regime. Yet today, with sick and twisted irony, the very body established to prevent evil is now welcoming a terror state into its ranks. What would Churchill say if he were alive today? What would Roosevelt think? They are turning in their graves, turning in their graves. This week, only this week, Israel commemorated Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. And it is during our sacred week that this shameless body has chosen to reward modern-day Nazis with rights and privileges. As Israelis mourn the Jewish babies burned in the crematoria, you here at the UN usher in the collaborators of the Israeli babies burned on October 7th. How can you be so blind? Is it your political interest? Are these your distorted values? Are you being threatened by diplomatic terror of the Palestinians and their collaborators? There are many here. Colleagues, today's destructive vote is not only opening the UN's doors to the terror-supporting Palestinian Authority. If it was, then it would be bad enough. But as you all know, the Palestinian Authority does not even have control of its own territory. Do you know who controls Gaza? You probably have forgotten, because in all of your resolutions here since October 7th, you have failed to even call them out by name. So I'll remind you, it's the terrorists of Hamas. But Hamas doesn't only control Gaza. Hamas has also taken over Palestinian neighborhoods, Palestinian villages in Judea and Samaria, what you call the West Bank. In every poll, Hamas today is predicted to win Palestinian elections, if they ever happen. So today, the General Assembly is not only about to grant the rights of a state to the Palestinian Terror Authority. Today you are also about to grant privileges and rights to the future terror state of Hamas. You have opened up the United Nations to modern-day Nazis, to genocidal jihadists committed to establishing an Islamic state across Israel and the region, murdering every Jewish man, woman, and child. It makes me sick. Sick. In the years to come, you will have to explain how, in opposition to all morality and the UN Charter, you did everything to give a state to a group of mass murderers, to the Hitlers of our times. So here it is. I present to you the future outcome of today's vote. This is the outcome of your vote. Soon to be President Yihya Sinwar, President Tyrant of the state of Hamas. sponsored by the UN, by the way. And he owes his deepest gratitude to you, the General Assembly. When Hamas rises to power, the Palestinian representative who just spoke here, you know what will happen to him. He will be recalled. And if he returns, he will likely be thrown off a rooftop by Hamas, just as the Palestinian Authority representative were when Hamas took over Gaza back in 2006-07. And in his place, this body will welcome a Hamas representative to its ranks, a terrorist diplomat whose stated goal is Jewish genocide, just like his Iranian counterpart here. With this new precedent, we may see here representatives of ISIS or Boko Haram that will sit among us. You know what? This will be fitting for the new moral standard being set here today, giving the rights of a state to an entity that is already partially controlled by terrorists and will be replaced by a force of child-murdering Hamas rapists. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. What you are carrying out today is reminiscent of how the powers of Europe capitulated to Hitler in the Munich Agreement. The UN is targeting the law-abiding democracy of Israel while appeasing the Nazi jihadist forces of Hamas and Iran. And Churchill's remarks then on the choice of cowardice and appeasement in the face of murderous dictators are relevant to your vote today. Because today you have a choice between weakness, shame, and conciliation, and fighting a war against terror. And sadly, you will choose weakness, but you will receive in return not only shame, but war in the future as well. Bravo. Colleagues, today another travesty is being committed here by the General Assembly, an unforgivable act, the destruction of the United Nations Charter. The UN Charter, the sacred document which serves as the foundation of everything we are supposed to do here, is being trampled upon. It is being thrown out the window. You are spitting on the very values that were formulated to bind this organization. With today's destructive resolution, you are circumventing the Security Council, ignoring its decision, and violating the norms this organization has abided by. The Charter was drafted for a reason, but most of you care nothing for the qualifications it outlines. So let me remind you what the Charter says about admitting new UN membership. Membership in the United Nations is open to all other peace-loving states which accept the obligations contained in the present Charter, peace-loving. Number two, the admission of any such state to membership in the United Nations will be affected by a decision of the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. With today's vote, you are not only bypassing the Security Council in violation of the Charter, but you are bastardizing the meaning of peace-loving. You know that the Palestinians are the exact opposite of peace-loving. You know this. Since they rejected the UN partition plan in 1947, they rejected it. They have only tried to destroy Israel time and again. They are terror-loving, not peace-loving. They are anything but peace-loving. The Palestinian Authority pays lifelong salaries to terrorists. It's in their budget. They teach martyrdom and jihad in their classrooms. They glorify death and murder. The Palestinians indoctrinate their children to murder Israelis and commit terror attacks. And then, when Israel defends herself, the Palestinian representative comes here, stands here, shedding his crocodile tears, as if he did not send all of them to commit suicide or terror attacks. Not a single Palestinian leader, not even one, has condemned the October 7th massacre. He calls the Hamas his brothers. And this is who you want to bestow the rights of a state upon? A terror entity? As long as so many of you are Jew-hating, you don't really care that the Palestinians are not peace-loving. Despite your obligation to the UN Charter, you are here today to expose what the Charter truly means to you. When it comes to the lives of Israelis and Jews, the UN Charter means nothing to you. Nada, kaput. By ignoring the Charter and granting the Palestinians the privileges of a member state, you are proving that morality is just a slogan for you, while politics and interest prevail. To you, the UN Charter is just a meaningless document, and the vote today will prove that. You know what you're doing today? Today you are gutting the Charter, and you are doing it in the wake of the most brutal massacre of my people since the Holocaust, on the ashes of the October 7th massacre. Why? This day will go down in infamy. The UN, an organization that was established in the aftermath of the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, pays no heed to its founding charter and is advancing another genocidal regime that threatens the existence of the Jewish people. And I want the entire world to remember this moment, to remember this immoral act. So today, I will hold up a mirror for you. A mirror. This is your mirror. So that you can see exactly what you are inflicting upon the UN Charter with this destructive vote. This is you are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands. Yes, yes, that's what you're doing, shredding the UN Charter. Shame on you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Israel.
Baby Israel, baby Israel. That is the representative or ambassador to United Nations from Israel, and they have all the energy, all the time to demonstrate how the countries they are shredding the United Nations charters just because they have voted for Palestinian to be given the right to be a sovereign state, but because it has also to go through the United Nations Security Council to vote, but it's just that the countries they gave their overwhelming majority. This time they cannot also sit or support Israel, because for what Israel has done, they have done a lot, or they have gone too far when it's come to the Palestinian. And now, since also they don't want to coexist with the Palestinian as their neighboring countries, so it's just telling us that these people, they don't want the existence of the Palestinian. And now if they don't want the Palestinian to exist as so if they don't want to coexist with the Palestinian as their neighboring countries, so meaning that they just want to continue killing or massacre the Palestinian, because one way or the other, the Palestinian, they will be provoked. There will be something that is going to trigger these people to attack them again, which he also said that you just voted for more war, because for Hamas, they are not going to stop terrorizing the neighboring countries. So meaning that the Israel, they are also going to attack back, or it's just going to be a back and forth when it's come to this. If really the United Nations Security Council, they have given the right to the Palestinian to be a sovereign state, so that will be the end of this war. So, but you could really see that the Israel, they really don't want to acknowledge also what the atrocity they have done to the Palestinian people. And for the Palestinian, they are only asking few things from these people. For the Israel, yes, they have been accepted to be a sovereign state, or to be a state by the United Nations in around 1940 there. And while now the Palestinian, they were also not given their right. But the Palestinian, they have been existing for so many years before the Jews come and settle in their own land. So this is what is happening. But now, imagine now the settlers, they are the ones that are pushing these native people into the small communities. Because now if the settlers, they wanted to take control of the whole country. So this is what is meant. That's why now when South Africa also is looking at this, this is exactly the same what happened when the white settlers, they came to South Africa and they started to occupy the land. After they occupied the land, they brought in guns and they started to have conflict, or they started to implement their apartheid regime toward the black people, because the black people, they started also to resist their governance. But now for the Palestinian people, they are only asking for few things from the Israel. Since now you have been accepted in the since now you have been accepted as a sovereign country, as a peace and loving countries in the United Nations, so can you also give us because for Palestinian, they are asking for the securities, the right to have water, the borders also to be free, because these people, they are going through checkpoint to checkpoint, they have to provide their identity. So this is what is happening. And no one wanted to live in a state that's having, or that is applying apartheid regime to their own people. So you have to provide your identity. If now maybe you are being censored to be one of the terrorists, so then you know the consequence. They are also asking for the Israel to stop occupying their land, to stop occupying their ancestral land, because they are being pushed now into small colonies. And the Israel to stop controlling Jerusalem. Because we know that there was also a controversial where a part of Jerusalem is controlled by Israel, and the other side is also controlled by Palestinian. And what the Israel want is to have the total control of the Jerusalem. But these people are settlers. They are not the native, or they are not the native ancestors of the land. That land did not belong to them. These people, they migrate from Europe, because the history is telling us that these Jews, they were looking for a state, either in Asia or either in Africa. But in Africa, they wanted to settle in Uganda, but Uganda, they did not agree. So now they happen to take that Palestinian land. So finally they settled for Palestinian land and abandoned Uganda, but and now they are causing too much havoc. They don't want to coexist with these people. And you cannot also go to somebody's land, and after they welcome you, after they give you a piece of land that you have been asked, you brought in your people, you settled them nicely, exactly the same way the settlers they were doing in South Africa or they were doing in Cape Colony. It's exactly the same. But you cannot expect these people or the native of the people or the native or the indigenous people not to fight back. That is not their spirit. That is not their spirit. But maybe the mistake that was done is to recognize them as a sovereignty state within Palestinian. Because if Palestinian, they could be recognized. Because mind you that these countries, they have been existing for so many years, and the formation of the United Nations is the one that now came to put up all this regulation to say you are only going to be recognized as a country when we have seen this, and if you are peace and loving countries, if you are coexistence with your neighbors, or you are not a terrorist. But these countries, they have been existing for so many years. There are conventions and charters that are also guiding the United Nations and the countries that are accepted in the United Nations. But yeah, so they have all the time to demonstrate, to show posters, and to deny the Palestinian people to be recognized as a sovereignty, because they cannot stand to be the neighbors, or they cannot stand to see the people of Palestinian having their own right, the right to movement, the right to have water, the right to build their own land, the right to be in their countries peacefully. That's not what they want. So thank you so much for watching. If you have watched up to this far, consider yourself subscribing to the channel, like the video, and share the video to your loved one. Leave your comment down below so that you can continue with the conversation in the comment section. Turn on your notifications so that you can be notified whenever I upload a new video, and see you on my next one. Bye bye and bye.